Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to episode 11 of The Real Shift. If you're joining us live, come and say hello in the comments. Tell us where you're watching from, what area of nursing or healthcare you're in, and whether you've been following The Real Shift over the last few weeks. Today's conversation is an important one, and for some people listening, it may also be a very familiar one. Over the past few weeks, we've been talking about nursing identity, the culture we've inherited, the invisible rules we carry, finding our voice, and what happens when we begin questioning things we've accepted for far too long. Last week, Wendy and Travatan and I explored the question, when nursing changes, who are you becoming? Today, we're taking that conversation somewhere deeper, because what happens when it's not nursing itself that you've stopped loving? What happens when it's the environment that you're nursing within? What happens when the workplace that you're walking into every day to care for other people becomes the very place causing you harm? Today's real shift is when the workplace becomes the wound. We're talking about workplace bullying, psychological safety, and the hidden impact workplace culture can have on the person behind the uniform. And I want to say something before we begin. This conversation isn't about attacking nursing. It isn't about blaming an entire profession, and it isn't about suggesting every difficult interaction at work is bullying. It's about willing to look at behaviors and cultures that can cause genuine harm and ask ourselves whether some of the things we've normalized in nursing should ever have become normal in the first place. Because we tell nurses to speak up, we tell them to advocate, we tell them to escalate concerns, but we also need to be willing to ask, have we created workplaces where nurses actually feel safe enough to do that? And that's why I'm very grateful to have our guest joining us today. So today I am joined by Annie Jones. Annie brings a powerful and deeply personal perspective to conversations about workplace culture, psychological safety, and nurse well-being. Drawing on her own experience of workplace bullying within the healthcare, Annie chooses to speak openly about the personal and professional impact these experiences can have. But what I particularly appreciate about Annie's message is that it isn't simply about telling a story of what went wrong. It is about using lived experience to create awareness, encourage reflection, and help us have better conversations about what safer, healthier nursing workplaces could look like. Annie is passionate about creating environments built around respect, connection, and psychological safety. She's also joining us as our guest speaker at the upcoming Standing Strong Summit, Psychological Safety in Nursing and Culture in Nursing, which we're going to talk about more later today. Annie, welcome to The Real Shift. Thank you for trusting us to have this conversation.
Thank you, Kylie, for giving me this opportunity to have this conversation with you and the wider audience. Yeah. So happy to be here and happy to chat.
Oh, that's amazing. I guess where we should start is we should go back to the beginning, before the wound, before the workplace became the wound. So, who were you as a nurse before this happened?
So before all of this happened, as a nurse, I was working in the Broken Hill Health Service, which is most people would know is remote and rural, located right in the bottom of New South Wales in like an old mining town. If you're born there, you're an A grader. If you're marrying, you're a B grader, and then people like me turn up. So I was a mother of three young children when I first moved there. I had three kids under four, basically. When all this started, the kids were all in school. I was a nurse. I'd worked myself up through the hospital as an EN, TEN, EN. Then I became a registered nurse straight away. Then I went on and did my grad dip. in psychiatric and nursing. And then I thought I'd go off and do my master's. And then by that stage, I'd gone really quickly within the hospital setting, and that was being noticed, the old tall poppy syndrome. When I reflect back, I can see it all now, but at the time I couldn't. Anyway, yeah, so I was running the psych ward for them, 6-bed ward, 4 step down, 2 HDU. It doesn't sound exciting, but it was always busy because we always have people milling in the other wards waiting to come in. So I was basically the head nurse running a psych unit in Broken Hill. And
Wow.
then I had an event which changed the whole trajectory of all of my nursing career. And that was when I had an impaired colleague that came into the workspace I was finishing a night shift, and she came in, she was inebriated, and I had to send her to ED to go and get her face sutured. Now, I am mandated and obliged by the Code of Conduct to report that type of behaviour. So I had to go and do that. I also will add at this point that 5 months previously to this lady coming into the workspace, I'd actually supported her in going to court and getting an AVO against her ex-husband. I didn't tell a soul about that. I did that privately. She asked me to help her, and I did that. So I ended up going off to see the director of nursing, told her what was going on. She said to me, well, what would you do about it? And I'm thinking, that's not up to me, it's on you. And I just said, I don't want this person to lose her job. She's having problems. We need to be seen to be helping her. Then we had a little bit more of a conversation where she asked me about the morale of the hospital. And me being me, I told her that her sister Kelly was, and she was in actual fact at that stage a bully. She was going round, the Don was new into the position, had 2 sisters, they're getting positions, and people are seeing it going on. And I knew that stuff was going on, I was hearing about it, but it really wasn't affecting me. Like, no one was coming for me at that stage until I had this conversation with the director of nursing. Then within a few weeks, it's all come back at me. I'm finishing work late on a Tuesday afternoon, and then I'm asked, I'm handed a yellow envelope. Can you sign off on this? Because, what's happening? I've never had a yellow envelope before. Oh, you've got some complaints. And now the Don's coming at me that I've breached this nurse's confidentiality. No, I haven't. So that's how it started for me. Then I find out there's a A4 piece of paper with R.N. Ann Jones written on it 9 times. Am I bullying people? Am I shouting at people? Am I doing all this horrible stuff? And I wasn't doing any of it. And then I found out that someone had actually had that piece of paper who I'd never worked with. So now the director of nursing's breaching my confidentiality. She's going me, saying I've breached this lady, and I hadn't. It was fact, and now it's coming back at me that I'm doing the wrong thing in the workplace. So once I discovered this letter, I went and saw a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I said to the lawyer, I want this stopped because this is totally inappropriate. And he could see it for what it was. So she got sent a cease and desist. Then I'm getting a few more things happening. No one's talking to me. This is the unit I've established and got staff to come and work there. I'm now walking in and no one's even looking at me, let alone speaking to me. So Blind Freddie can see something's up.
Yeah.
And it's on me because everyone was threatened with this. You can't talk about it. It's confidential. If you speak, and the tactics they use. But me being me thinks, hang on a second, I'm grown. The
Yeah.
director of nursing's just breached my confidentiality on a huge public scale. And I'm being accused of doing this, and I haven't done. What am I? What do you do with that? So in the end, I go to and also the director of nursing, the ex now at the time, had also been our union delegate for Broken Hill Health Service. So she knows all the players in Sydney. So then I'm getting a phone call. Then I ring up a local lady, a member of staff, who's also now our union delegate, get her over. I'm embarrassed, Kylie, because people come into my home now, my personal place, and I'm having to discuss all this stuff that I'm innocent, I've not done anything wrong. She comes over, I give her the study for an hour and a half. She comes out disgusted, and she can see it for what it is. And she said, I've never seen anything like this in my life, like she's really going for you. I said, well, I've obviously upset her because I brought the sister in. She's asked me and I've told her, and here we are. So then the union delegate from Broken Hill gets in contact with Sydney and said, look, we've got a situation. We've got a nurse here taking the director of nursing on. Then I get a phone call another Tuesday afternoon, 4 p.m. from Madonna St. Clair from the unions. Now, when I go to speak, she tells me in no uncertain terms, and be quiet, I'm speaking. That's how I was spoken to on the phone. And I thought, hang on a second, what is going on here? Like, I just want someone to talk to. I just want to tell someone exactly what's going on. And I want everyone to see that I'm okay and I'm not this horrible person that they're all infringing that I am. So the next morning, she tells me to be quiet. I go to my email, and there's an email there from Donna St. Clair, not to me, addressed to the Director of Nursing, Dale Sutton. Dear Dale, thank you for your return phone call last evening. Hang on a second, I don't have Donna St. Clair's phone number to have a little impartial chat after tea over a bottle of wine. Like, what's going on here now? I've told Anne to be quiet, and she will be. We'll have no problems. So now the union, who that I'm paying money into, I'm paying their wages, are now going against me behind my back after hours. And this silly woman sent me the email.
That's
That's
disgusting.
that it was welcome to my world. So all of these things that could possibly go wrong for them went wrong for them, but at my cost.
Yeah, yeah.
You
And
know,
can I just take you back? Because as nurses, and you just mentioned that this was over several months before it got to this point, and you'd had interactions with this nurse. You did the right thing. You followed protocol. And I don't know if South Australia Health or New South Wales Health have a domestic violence policy
yes,
for staff. We do in here in Queensland. So
yes,
you did the right thing by this nurse. You didn't breach confidentiality, but things probably may have been starting to escalate even months or years prior, because as nurses, we will tolerate things far longer than what we normally do, because that's the way we've been conditioned. So do you feel that you delayed reporting and delayed escalating because of that conditioning?
no.
No.
No, absolutely not. Because I don't mind having policies and procedures. They're my guide. They're
Yeah, yeah,
everybody's guide. Or they should be. They should be black and white. But obviously mental health, it gets a bit grey from here to there.
yeah,
No, I acted appropriately.
yeah,
I told the nurse unit manager, like I told the aide on, and when I left that shift, I won't do anything today, but in the next few days I'll be going to see the Don with a letter. And I told her that, and told her to tell the Don. So she was expecting me when I got there. She already knew. She already knew that the police had been involved at the nursing quarters. It was quite a big sing and dance there. So yeah, so no, I didn't delay it, and I wouldn't have changed anything anyway. But it was
yeah,
just the minute I went and said something, nothing was done. To the extent that that same colleague came back into the workplace twice more, smelling of alcohol. So I don't go and tell the Don then, because I've already tried telling her once with a letter. So
yeah,
then I'm just telling the after hours, whoever's in charge after her, whoever's, left with the keys for the building, I'm letting them know that, hey, she's coming again and she's under the influence. And, so I was doing my part. They just weren't doing their part.
yeah, yeah. And we quite often we hear that in nursing, the cover up. And it wasn't, I guess, when people hear the words workplace bullying and they think about what happens during the shift. Okay? But this is so much bigger than what happens during the shift. This follows you home.
Mm.
And it's what happens outside of the workplace that I feel it has a bigger impact in our lives. And what was that experience, or that impact the experience began having outside the workplace?
That was horrible. So all of a sudden, my friends, my nursing colleagues, no one's coming round to my house anymore,
Yeah,
because where I live is at the bottom of a hill, and at the top of the hill was the administration building where the CEO was, and he can see my house. So people wouldn't park there; they'd go and park round the corner. It was like secret. It was mad. It was the whole situation was mad. It got worse a little while after that when I had a female client of the health service turn up at my home one Easter bearing gifts. And I hadn't told this woman where I lived. I only live a 3-minute walk from the hospital at that
Yeah.
stage. I wasn't in the phone book for obvious reasons. And when I asked her how she got my home address, she told me another nurse had told her. I rang up the nursing in my office straight away. I'm on days off, and the two people that were in there, it was no way it was them, absolutely not. And it came out later, it was actually the nurse that put in the vexatious complaint was the one that told her where I lived.
Mm.
And that didn't come out for quite some time. That was so after I had my first sort of ding dong, if you will, with the director of nursing. I ended up taking 5 months off. The whole thing went for about 5 months. It was horrible. Then I ended up taking 5 months off on work cover. I thought that was only fair, got myself back. And then when I went back to work, that's when all hell broke loose, because now the ex-CEO that was there well before my nursing time had left. Now he was back, and him and the Don know each other. So next thing, I'm being sent for by this man I've never met, with what can only be described as a myriad of complaints.
Mm.
Myriad. I actually, it's funny, I've actually been going, because I've kept everything. People say, "Oh, you should throw it all away." Now I'm writing a book at some stage, so I need everything there.
Yeah.
But just going through it, just seeing some of the things that I'd completely forgotten about, or just shut them down, or hadn't recognised at the time. And now reading them, what they did to me was absolutely horrific. I ended up in arbitration. The CEO was very dismissive with the unions. He wasn't, doing the timelines. He's not playing their game, and he's leaving me hanging. I call what he did to me was a professional rape in front of all of my colleagues, strangling me out and stripping me bit by bit of what I'd worked so hard to achieve. And that's what they do. They professionally rape you in front of everyone. It's like a penance because you've said something. Well, I've got thick skin, but being told in arbitration by an arbitrator in front of my family, I do believe that your employer's tried to get you to suicide. That's got a
Yeah.
bit of that's got a big ring to it when you're hearing that as a nurse, someone that just wants to go out and look after people and be decent and have a bit of empathy. And yeah.
Yeah, and your experience is not isolated. Like I come across stories like this every day from nurses all over Australia. A lot
Mm.
of my clients have had similar sort of experiences for you. Yours was probably compounded more because you're from a small country town where everybody knew everybody.
You don't need stamps on your letters living in Broken Hill.
Yeah, yeah. And I like you did you find yourself replaying those conversations, second guessing yourself, going, did that really happen? Or am I missing something here? Yeah,
Not at the start, it didn't, because I'm a pretty grounded person. I mean, when you're working in psych, you've got to be sort of on your game when you're meeting people, and you're sort of 5 steps ahead of everyone. Being involved in this convoluted mess, that by the end, because I was doing what they wanted me to do, then it was getting changed, and then there was another complaint coming in, and then there was another complaint, and then in the end, I was thinking, am I a bad person?
mm,
I know I've not done this. Why are they all doing it? It was mobbing in the end. And
yeah,
at first I thought, because it's a small town, there's only one hospital there, Kylie. People are worried about losing their positions. I mean, and rightly so. You're a single mum and you've got children and a mortgage and food and bills to pay and, dentists and new shoes. You're in it, you just want to go to work and earn money and live.
yeah,
But
yeah,
these people take all that away from you, because suddenly you're on special leave, and now we're working 9 to 5 in an office, which is an absolute shit box. Sorry, it was a shit box he had me in. It was
yeah,
horrible. And they had me in there to decrease my mood and make me more depressed. And I just thought, no, I'm just gonna keep You're going to bat it. I'm going to bat it back. Let's see where all this is going to end up. And people say to me, Annie, how on earth did you manage to do it? To this day, I don't know, because I'm stubborn and I just wanted to see how devious they were going to be. But in the end, the deviousness was criminal what they were doing. My stalking patient, so the lady that came to my home, the patient, quite some time after that, the New South Wales no smoking, no swearing, no smoking comes out. That's me just trying to psychologically not drop the F bomb because I want to, but I won't. And so there's all these things coming into place. But this woman, then the no smoking, now she's destroying the facility. And I've had the 5 months off and I'm coming back to all of this. Then she threatened me twice. The first time she said, don't forget, I know where you live. Well, I know that because you've been there. But the next day, she said, don't forget, Annie Jones, I know where you live. And it'll take me 5 minutes and a box of matches to come and burn your fucking home down with you and your kids in it. Now, when she said that to me, the hairs on the back of my neck, I knew, I felt it. And that was one of the times in my whole nursing career when someone's brought my family into it. And just that it was horrible. So I knew I had to act on it. Now, I can't go and talk to the director of nursing because, no, I don't trust her, I don't like her. I can't go and talk to the new general manager because he's losing his position because he wouldn't support me. So he ended up getting the flick. It was horrible. So in the end, the stalking patient came to my home, threatened to kill me, threatened to kill my family. This was a year after the first AVO was taken out. Then the police get involved. They then tell me how dangerous this woman is because I've been looking after her for 7 years, knowing this much, but the police know a whole lot more. And yeah, and she threatened to decapitate the head psychiatrist, youngest son's head off. So he took it. His family left, didn't have a full-time psychiatrist because of this female. I ended up going, in the end, when I sort of left and I'm doing like the change.orgs, I approached Susan Lay, who was our member for Broken Hill at that time. Nothing. Her and Gillian Skinner, waste of space. Then this same female, my stalking patient, has a bit of a thing with the water. Then she's going Susan Lay. So Susan Lay takes out an AVO against her. All that made the papers. Mine didn't. I've got
Yeah.
fires at my house. I've got cards being left, farewell cards, pens, chocolates, roses. It was weird. But yeah, lighters left outside the premises with a little dirt patch fire that had been lit overnight with the lighter next to it. And
Yeah.
when she was given her AVO, what did the client do with it? She breached it straight away and brought her AVO and left it in my letterbox with
And
what I was dealing with. And what did the CEO do at the end of the 2 years to make sure I wasn't going to go back? He employed the stalking patient as the first ever mental health advocate for our suite, for the mental health inpatient unit. So she's
mm,
now in there and I'm out the door with all my information on the walls and there's AVOs there.
I've got no words.
No, I haven't.
Like, it's like something from a movie or something. Like, it's not something that you would expect that you would experience in real life. Like, it's so far out there. And what happened to your confidence during all of this period?
My confidence got swayed.
Yeah.
It did. It got swayed for safety. So now I've got a big Doberman dog at that time. Now I'm worried that he's going to get poisoned. He's a guard dog. Now I'm
Yeah.
worried that someone's going to come and bait him. Now I'm hearing a car going by and then stop, and I'm awake now, getting out the front to see who's coming to my home at 2 in the morning or 5 in the morning or whenever it was.
Yeah, so that there was genuine fear for your safety, for not only your
Oh,
safety, but for your children as well.
absolutely. Yeah.
So it didn't, this didn't affect you. It affected your wider family.
Yeah, and friends, and colleagues. My colleagues could see what was going on. but they couldn't speak up because they'll go next. I've got a very good support network of nurses still to this day in Broken Hill. And my main one, Wendy's the woman that was responsible for getting me into nursing, so she had to be the witness to it all.
Yeah.
After I'd gone, then they went for Wendy because she knew exactly what they'd done. So then it was her turn. And then after Wendy was there's other nurses. I'd left by this stage. He'd made it untenable for me. The CEO didn't put me to ARPA on all the vexatious complaints. He put me straight to the Healthcare Complaints Commission. Now I've got investigators flying in, not speaking to me, but speaking to those that, were part of all this vexatious complaint.
Yeah.
And that took a few years, but I got my name cleared in the end. I hadn't done anything wrong. And that's why I think I was determined I wasn't going to back down, because they took me on and now I'm taking them on. But it's an entity, it's a system where we're just numbers in it.
Absolutely. And did you ever start wondering at any point during this, maybe I am the problem?
Maybe for a split second here and there, but I'm a rational person. I knew I'd done the right thing. This was just, maybe no one had taken it as far as this before. You
Yeah.
know, telling
Yeah.
the Don your sister's a bully. I mean, she asked me, I told her. But for me, that's what started all of this whole process of coming back at me, because how dare I go in there and challenge her? And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and we see that all the time in nursing. They ask us to speak up, and then they ridicule us and
yeah,
blame us when we tell the truth. Like I am the same. I will tell it as I see it. I will offend
absolutely.
people, and
Yeah.
but that's why should I diminish who I am as a core person to appease somebody else?
Mm.
And when you look back now, what part of Annie do you feel you lost the most while you're just trying to survive in that environment?
The happy-go-lucky, cheerful one with a great sense of humour.
Yeah,
Because when I realised, these nurses that I thought were my friends, pack mentality. When the shit hits the fan, you want to know who your friends are. They'll be there straight away. When they're not there, they're all in the gang, or I was like the leader of the ward for them, and I am my own person. I can lead myself, and I've demonstrated that. It took me a while to work the system out, but once I was in it, I wasn't going to back down and let that lot win. Absolutely, and I did that too for my children to see that their mother's not this bad person that goes to work and causes drama. I mean, don't get me wrong, when you're running a psych unit, it's not easy peasy. Some days are bedlam, anyone can tell you. But you're supposed to go home in a similar state to what you came to work in,
yeah,
according to work cover. And that's just, with your clients, let alone your CEO, corrupt CEOs and dodgy dons coming for you. And their tentacles and union players, and it's a big incestuous pit when you look
yeah,
at this, how they're all connected, and what they're all prepared to do to cover each other over. But for them, the longer it went on, the worse it became for them, because I was getting all the evidence then, and I
yeah,
was using it, and I was using it against them. So I ended up getting them with the policies and procedures and the code of conduct. Who signed off on that? A woman called Dr. Mary Foley. Well, let's have a look at you. Google, found out who she was, where she was, and I presented in Sydney with a big envelope full of everything that they had done to me and others.
mm,
So, before you made the point about how I was feeling, it wasn't just me, Kylie. When you look at Broken Hill, there was over 50 nurses.
yeah,
There's it's a 76 bed hospital at that stage, bit bigger now, I believe. But yeah, 76 bed hospital, and over 50 nurses have either resigned or been pushed out and intimidated out. And then it was my turn. Well, where I come from, you value your work and you value your reputation, because that's who you are. And
yeah,
I didn't work all of that for them to just come along. I mean, don't get me wrong, they did take it all off me in the end, but I didn't make it easy for them. They just couldn't come and rip the carpet out. I hung on to some of it, and it was a push and a thing, but I've highlighted them all now for who they all are, caught them all out.
yeah. And like one thing we constantly hear in healthcare is if something isn't right, speak up. If you don't agree with something, advocate. But Annie, why isn't speaking up just simple as it sounds? What a nurses afraid might happen?
This, this sort of
We
thing,
witnessed it, right?
stalking patients, and overnight armed gun siege with police, and things being left at your home, and threats, and the general public hearing about what's going on with you without even knowing who you are, or some of them do know you and hear it and come and approach you in public. And
Yeah,
they don't even work at the hospital, but they've heard all about it. It's embarrassing. It's shameful what they do to people. But if you know you've done nothing wrong, then absolutely. I remember my brother once, he's in the army, and he once said something to me. And he said, "Sis, close your eyes, lean in, grab them by the throat, and do not take a stand back." And that's what I did in the end, because I had to.
yeah. And what do you think happens when there is this power imbalance? Because that's exactly what it was. You are the nurse down here. You're running a mental health facility, quite successful, many years, no complaints prior
Yeah,
to this point. Got along really well, was well loved in the community, and then you've got this Don, this person, and you've got the managers and you've got the CEOs and executive managers. And all of a sudden, this person up here is the queen and she's controlling everything. And you're just down here as this person.
mm-hmm.
And it's almost like your job title means where you sit in the hierarchy. And because you're down here, she's more, I guess, trustworthy,
Well,
maybe.
she's born and bred there. Everyone knows her.
Yeah. But But it was not only this, because this went wider. This went into Sydney, this
Yeah.
New South Wales Health, and she was getting all of these people. She was getting her posse of people to disregard who you were as a person, and then she was getting all of these tentacles like an octopus, all of these,
Yeah, tentacles reach far and wide.
yeah, like reaching in. And this happens, we see this, like in my experience, when I had it, I was a 6.2, I had 2 grade 7s, then a nursing director, and lost my position as well, because I started speaking up, I started making complaints. But again, these octopuses, they're
Yeah.
tentacles, they reel all of these people in and they play the victim. And so you're left questioning everything about your life. Like,
Mm.
you're doing this deep dive. It took me on this big journey of exploration, going, well, what have I done wrong? Or what did I answer this? But it's a power imbalance.
Mm. Yeah,
That,
she's very much what I would call Queen Bee syndrome.
yeah, right. I like that. Queen
Yeah,
bee.
Queen
Yeah.
Bee syndrome. And when you're in charge of people, you can't be a vindictive queen bee. You've got to be a queen bee that works and knows where all your workers are, knows which hives need more honey, knows which hives need to be, released of honey, all of it. Now, she was just nothing nice about her whatsoever.
Mm,
Not from
yeah.
my experience, even before she became the Donna. And I've thought about this. She was the nurse unit manager of surgical ward, and this is back in the days when people could smoke outside. And I used to like go and have a quick read, or I'd go outside and I'd say hello to her there, and she'd just sort of give me a quick up and down. But even back then, before she even became the Don, they just don't like people coming through really, really quickly. It's a tall poppy syndrome too. And
And
I
it's
was I was
rife
the
in
first. I was the first nurse there to get the $30,000 scholarship, because I decided to go interstate to South Australia. And that
Mm,
was a huge, big thing. And then even when I think back to that, there'd be a few little, "Oh, I come round to your house for dinner, you've got all this money," and just all like this. That money's for my education. What are you talking about? Just little things like that. When I let it slide at the time, but now I understand. I understand it was because I was new and I was doing all these things, and suddenly I was like the golden child and getting all this attention and publicity. And look at this nurse, and she's doing really well. And yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And what happens when everybody knows there's a problem? Okay. And they do. Like, it doesn't matter whether you're in a small health service or in a metropolitan. Nurses, like, don't say anything, be quiet. But what do nurses do? Oh, we've got to keep this a secret. I've experienced myself. I know something, but I can't talk to you about it. I know something, but I can't talk to you about it.
Yeah,
But they don't act, they know there's a problem, but they don't do anything about it. Like,
yeah. Because when they get audited, it's a bit like when the SACs go in. You know, suddenly the SAC 2 has now been changed to a SAC 4. It's not as bad as what they thought it was at the start. So
mm,
each year when the hospital service is getting audited, oh, this hospital's running on steam. It's great. Look, no dramas. Had a couple of little things, but nothing major. They don't want to, and especially when you're out in remote and rural, they're rowing their own boat out there. They're out of the eyes of the city,
yeah.
you know. Yeah, absolutely appalling.
Mm.
But
Yeah, and it's a big cover up, and like it without, like, they Channel 7 or whoever it was, news.com, whoever brought out that the news article just recently about these nurses that have been assaulted or bullied or whatever. Like, that's all clickbait. They're
mm,
not going to do anything about that.
yeah.
Um, the politicians, they know what's going on. The health minister knows what's going on. The executive director for all of our health centers knows what's going on, but they're not going to do anything.
Well, apparently, I ended up going off. I did the ministry, and then I went to the government, and they were like, "Oh," and I thought, "Well, you're not doing anything." So then I went to the opposition, and the minute I went to the opposition, then things started happening. Then, so
Mm,
that's what I learned. You know, if any nurses out there are in this journey, it is like the army. You know, you've got your soldier here, and then you've got your sergeant and the warrant officers, and they're all going up, and rah rah, lieutenants and whatever. It's the same with the hospital. But if you can't go to your nurse unit manager because you have dealings with the Don, you've got to go above that one. If
yeah,
that one's not coming to the party, you've got to go above that one. But if that one's worse than the Don with his behaviour, I end up getting a letter of apology uh, from a Professor Jenny McParlane after the first for the impaired colleague. And it was Dear Anne Jones, on behalf of the Greater Area Western Health Service, we're very sorry. You know, the procedure, the policies, it was all fundamentally wrong, and you were blah, blah. It's just words on paper.
and they didn't do anything about it.
Then when the CEO came and then he sent for me on a Thursday, Friday morning I'm seeing him. Now he's telling me I'm late. I was told 9:30. I'm getting rung up from him. Anne Jones, you're 13 minutes late. Stuart Riley here. Where the bloody hell are you? This is the CEO's first conversation with me. And what's going to happen? And I get all it was like this thick, Kylie. And
Mm,
I had less than 72 hours to answer it all and plead my case. And I answered it and I pled my case. And he still said, "Oh no, it doesn't tally with what I've got. Now I'm putting you under two investigators." One of the investigators was my old university lecturer. I had to talk to her. This woman gave me a HD. I sat in front of her and presented, and now I'm a few years later, now sitting in front of her, making out that I'm a good person. I'm not who he's saying I am.
yeah, yeah,
And then,
yeah,
oh, well, that doesn't work. No, no, no. I didn't like their answers. Now you're going to go to the healthcare complaints. That's horrible. That's not
yeah,
Alfred. Healthcare complaints. He's playing big time. They looked at me. Like I said, they never physically spoke to me. 10-page report, not one thing. Fine, I've done nothing wrong. It's unheard of. Done nothing wrong. So what did he do? He appealed it. Now he's embellishing it and trying to add a few more extra things in there. I've actually just got it here today. I've actually got a copy of the letter addressed to Stuart Riley about me that I'd done nothing wrong, and he's appealing it, trying to put extra crap in there to get me deregistered. And the commissioner's telling him to back off. He's not having two bites at my cherry.
yeah.
Then I get the third Health Complaints Commission from the stalking patient. That's when I knew I had them. I knew I had the health service then, because this client wouldn't know about the Healthcare Complaints Commission. She wouldn't know anything to do with nursing. So she's now being fueled and dragged in, and now they're using her to come back at me. That's when I knew I had them. That's how sad state of affairs it got, that they're now using a mental health client to go me. That's how bad it got. So then I sent it. So then I had to, and I remember opening that letter next to the letterbox, and I even had a phobia about the envelope, certain size envelope with a certain Sydney marking on. Oh, it's a healthcare complaints. And I remember opening that letter, Kylie, and as I'm absorbing it and reading it, it's from the stalking patient, because I've taken out an AVO, which I was well and truly allowed to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if I hadn't, I'd have got crucified then for not highlighting a danger. So
Yeah.
you're doomed if you do, and you're doomed if you don't. And I remember looking at this letter, Kylie, and I saw the client's name, and I saw and I started laughing, because I knew I could respond to this, and they were going to hear it, because I've got the evidence now. So I sent them the article out of the paper where she's involved in an overnight armed gun siege with police, tell me she's not dangerous, all of this business. And of course, they threw it out. There's nothing to, but the fact that they'd got her to do that. So this is how sick the system is, when we're bringing mental health clients to cajole them to go against a nurse. That's what happened to me, and I can prove it.
Yeah. And that incident is not alone. You're not alone in that. They do this quite often. They will bring these people in. Do you think we sometimes confuse being resilient? Okay, because we hear that all the time in nursing. Once you start making complaints or writing or reporting people, does get turned around that you lack resilience. And here, go and do this communication course. Here, you need to go and have time off and work on your mental health. But do you think we're confusing that with learning how to tolerate this unacceptable behavior that is coming through? Because we tolerate it. Many nurses out there, they're too afraid to speak up.
And because why they're afraid to speak up? Because they need the pay, the living pay to pay.
Yeah.
You know, but back in the day, Australia wasn't really that way inclined. I mean, of course, some people have got to live pay to pay, but in
Yeah.
Australia, it's a great place to be. But not at the minute with the politics and everyone. You know, you need that job, you need your overtime, because that's gone up and the fuel's going up. And why would you go to work and? But my persona is, why would I go to work and tolerate anyone treating me in that manner? I don't care if you're a CEO. I don't care if you're a politician. I don't care who you are. If I'm going to work for you and I'm giving you a fair day's work for a fair day's pay, then that's all I want. But
Yeah.
obviously in nursing and mental health and, personalities, and like, it's not just your clients, it's the staff. That was a huge eye opener for me, walking in, and doing agency work's been good. You just swan in there, and as the agency nurse, especially the poor younger ones, they're going to get given it all. When I go in, I've scoped them all out straight away.
Yeah.
And then I'll say certain things, and next time I go in, I don't get all your flack. I want to go in there and work.
Yeah.
I want to go in and make a difference. I'm not going out of my way to be horrible to someone who's having a bad time in life.
Yeah. And that's what you become a nurse, because you generally want it, like we're empaths. We have that compassion, and we generally want to make someone's life
Better.
easier or better in that moment when they're in their most vulnerable. Do you think we're normalizing this type of behavior? And when and I'm talking about the staying quiet, the targeting, the it's more than bullying. It's not bullying. It was like these people in nursing, they literally, they go you. It's almost like they don't give, it's like a war zone almost.
You
Um,
know how you hear that? I remember the first time I heard that adage of nurses eat their young, Kylie. I
right.
heard that. No, I heard that and I was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean nurses eat the young? And I see it and I get it, especially the young uni students coming through who've not really had the hands on. I make sure that I embrace my young and I put my wings around them and I'm going to get them through it.
Yeah, yeah. I actually rephrase that and say that nursing eats their own.
Nurses are like a pack of lionesses in my estimation. They maul each other.
Yep.
That's my experience of being mauled by a pack. Not just a couple of them in the end, it was a pack. And I have no doubt a few of them will watch this. They know who they are. I
Oh,
know who you are. Everyone knows who you are.
absolutely. And there's going to be many, many haters that sit there because they're the ones like they're the ones that watch you the most because
Yeah,
deep down they're worried about what you're going to say. And what they don't realize is that we are the ones that hold the most power. And
yeah,
so they are literally scared. And I know this because I've seen it with one of my bullies who had a formal complaint with HR. And she was like a nervous wreck. And at that time, we were quite good friends. The complaint in the incident that caused that first complaint, I didn't realize at the time it was so much wider. But the incident that caused that complaint was um, not look, a nurse didn't go for their break. This nurse was in charge. She said, and she probably said it a bit abruptly, knowing her, but, and she said, well, why didn't you tell me you haven't gone for your break or something? And so, of course, like stresses, this nurse being
yeah,
vulnerable has become really upset. And then there was a whole posse of other nurses who had it against, like, it was almost like, this nurse, the way it was portrayed in the ward, that this nurse was being targeted by this posse. But you didn't realize how much wider that this nurse at the
yeah.
top here had actually caused so much distress down here. And like I seen that probably about 5 years ago in my own experience with her because she was
Mm.
doing it. But from me up watching her, she was panicking the whole time through this. Like, I think I'm going to lose my job. I think I'm going to do this, that. I think I'm going that. And this is what these narcissistic people do
Yes.
to get all these people reeled in. But it just to see like being on both sides of the coin. And this nurse had to leave her workplace that she's worked for 20 plus years just for the psychological safety and just to be able to do a job, while this one gets promoted.
Mm.
Um,
Well, the one, so I was asked by the clinical director of psychiatry to go in for the nurse unit manager's position. And I said, look, I would do that, but the minute I do that, all hell's going to break loose, and this is why. So I showed him what had happened with the patient previously. Anyhow, I went in for it. So on April the 1st, I should have known, I took the AVO out the first time against a female client, and I've gone for that position. That position, the nurse unit manager, I couldn't get that because I'm under disciplinary and a major disciplinary. So not even looking at me. They gave that position to Marissa Zatnich, the nurse that gave the stalking patient the address of where I lived. And she was the one that put in the vexatious complaint. So now she's the nurse unit manager. And she'd only got a grad dip. I had my masters, I'd been running, yeah, all of it. Just little things like that.
yeah,
Anything they can to make you feel horrible. And I knew that they'd made it untenable for me, but I was going to make it as untenable for them as I possibly could.
yeah,
They just thought I was going to go away, Kylie, go into state and start my life over and forget about them all. No, opportunity. And here we go. And then that opportunity, it's sort of got really big for me now after last year when I was rang up and told I've been nominated for a bravery award. And I actually thank that lot now in Broken Hill for doing that to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been where I am. And
Yeah.
once that came public, people were saying, "How come it's taken? How come it's taken so long for this woman to be recognised?" And then I just said, "Well, I'm a whistleblower." And
Mm,
then that's when it all started. LinkedIn, I've got hold of it. I'm doing podcasts all over the world now. I've been
yeah.
asked to go and speak in countries next year for it. So I never thought I was going to end up here.
Yeah, and it's quite sad that something so terrible in our life
Mm,
that impacted us so much has then been an opportunity for you to share and to expand your story and to give courage and confidence to those out there in the profession currently experiencing similar sort of situations, because your experience is not isolated. Like, I talk to
mm,
nurses all the time who are having various experiences to what you had. I've experienced it. I've lost my nursing career over it as well, because of this group of person. Because I started speaking up, I reported this nurse, because I said, "Hey, she is doing this. She's undermining me. She's
mm.
narcissistic behavior. She's doing it in front of all of these grade sevens," and then she was given a position of power to dictate
Yeah,
when and if I returned to work. And so then when I started to go over her head, well, both my num and the acting num at the time, and HR,
oh, HR.
HR, like I'm like, you don't get to make this decision. And I went to, again, my Don. I went to my Don. She knew the history. She was well aware of it. And I'm like, they don't get to make a decision as to when I get to go back to work.
Mm.
That is not how this works.
They're like puppeteers pulling the puppet strings. We're the puppets.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when I went through my civil claim with the courts and the solicitors and all of that sort of stuff, everything got blamed on me. Everything. And like, I haven't done or gone over anybody's head, because I for me, I feel like, well, I've got more power because I can do this big,
Mm.
and I can hold these people accountable and stuff like that. Like, and I can have more power and have these people shitting in their pants because they never
Yeah,
know when I'm going to name and shame them in the public. And I will at some point name and
yeah,
shame, because I'm not associated with any healthcare anymore,
yeah,
organisation. So I don't have a gag order.
yeah. I refuse to sign it.
Yeah. Well, but I'm not even
Yeah,
like, code of conduct says you can't talk out in the media and you can't do that. Well, I don't have a code. I have my own
yeah,
code of
yeah.
conduct.
I know.
Like, we hear the term psychological safety all the time in nursing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a danger that it becomes another phrase organizations use without fully asking what it actually feels like for those people here or in the workplace. So what does psychological safety mean to you now after everything you've experienced?
Oh, I've always been brought up in psychological warfare with my father. He's ex-army, and
Yeah,
he
yeah,
has 3 daughters and a son. So we were brought up in psychological warfare. It's about my safety.
yeah, yeah,
It's about my safety and the safety of my family. End of. That's my main concern now. Is, am I going to be safe? And I'm always looking over my shoulder, especially with the way the world's going at the minute. It's getting pretty crazy out there. But I've always had a good psychological outlook. I know what life's all about,
yeah,
and yeah, just safety for myself, safety for others.
yeah. And safety is a basic human need, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, when you're
Yeah,
closing your door overnight, putting your head on your pillow, you should be able to go to sleep and get 8 hours kip.
yeah,
Not be tossing and turning or having to take medications to help you to get to sleep because your mind's ruminating on all of this stuff that's just come your way, and how am I going to get out of it? And you know,
can an organization call themselves psychologically safe if the staff are afraid of the consequences of speaking?
no, absolutely not. I don't think any health service anywhere can call itself safe in this day and age.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can they be? We've got doctors that are doing operations and they're not even screened properly to have that position to be doing the operations in Australia.
Yeah. Yeah. We've seen that.
Hello, hello. That's a surgeon who's cutting off people's bits and limbs, and he's not even authorised to be holding a scalpel, let alone be stood there cutting into someone. That's happening as we speak.
Yeah, and we've seen that like 10 years ago. I think it was early 2000s with Dr. Patel up here in Townsville, and
Yeah.
like we've seen that, and again,
Doctors sexually assaulting clients.
Yes, yeah,
You know, you only have to go into the Healthcare Complaints Commission website. I used to read it on night shift. That's why I know all about the healthcare complaints. And there are hundreds of cases on there where they get people like you and I that have done something wrong and absolutely hang you out with everything, your education, your marital status, your degrees, what you it's a full court case of what nurses are and doctors are doing improperly in the health system, and it's still going on today, let alone having to go to work and worry about corrupt CEOs and dodgy dons, what they're going to be doing to you.
yeah,
The
yeah.
whole health system's imploding as we speak.
It is. It is. What do you think? What is the message that we need to send to a team when the harmful behaviour is repeatedly overlooked because someone is experienced or they're senior, they're considered too valuable to challenge?
I think you need to, in order to demonstrate bullying, you have to have at least 3 occasions of it. So that's how you start. Yeah, that's how you start. Even if you're writing on the back of a cornflakes packet, it's still a legal document. You've got your signature and a date on it and something that's happened, that's a legal document. You document everything, what got said, who heard it, and you just have everything each day. And you shouldn't be going to work having to do that, though. That's the last thing you need to be doing. You should be going to work looking for, well, has anyone relapsed overnight? What's happening on the ward? Not with what's going on between the num and the nurse. And how can you have a good health system if you've got the staff going each other before they've even gone out onto the floor to look at the patients?
Yeah, and I say that look, that's a good point that you brought up about documenting time, date. That I believed helped me in my journey. As soon as there was so many other things that I didn't document, but I just got and nurses go, I don't have time. You just get your notes section on your phone is all I did. I had a rolling notes after every incident. I took myself to the toilet sometimes, sat on the toilet, and I wrote it fresh. Date, time, what was said. Simple. And then when I started going through all the legal stuff with my injury and all of that sort of stuff, that was so valuable because I just then extracted that information and gave it straight to the solicitors. And it's so much stronger recording that. And it's like a journal. Like you've been able to record all of this that's happened to you, every experience along the way, which you'll then turn into a book, which you'll release on your story. It's allowed you to go back at times, read back over things and go, oh, I forgot about that part. And then do a little bit of a deep healing journey about that part and go, okay, well, I can reflect on that. But also then to share your experiences with everybody else, which I guarantee if Annie has experienced this, if I've experienced this, there's someone else in healthcare going through it. If you're thinking it, someone else is thinking it or they're experiencing it as well. Was there at any point that you wish someone had said to you when you were right in the thick of this, what to do or where, did you ever wish there was someone there that you could lean on or even just, I guess, recognize themselves in you?
That's a good question. It's a deep question, actually.
Oh, yes, we do go deep on here.
I know, right? Look, it's a hard question because the unions were helping me after I got rid of Donna St. Clair. Got a guy called Ian Bailey, and he was all over it. He was great to me. Another union rep, Patricia Robinson, she was invaluable. She came out and saw me face to face. We went out for dinner one night, and she said to me, we have seen some things at the New South Wales Nurses Association. She said, but what we've got with you, it's a total witch hunt. She said, we know you're innocent. We know you've done nothing wrong, but it's coming in from all the hierarchy. The ones that are supposed to be protecting you are the ones that are giving it to you. She said she was disgusted as a union rep coming out, having to have this conversation with me. I think for me, it was a case of me relying on myself. Because like I said, when you sort of get in the system, it's a health system, it can be the law system, it can be the tax system, everything's a system. When you're in the system as a little player, you don't go too far at the start because it's you're bumping into things and I didn't know that was there and what's this one all about and what's this policy and what. Once you've been in it for a while and you start working it out, then you know that the system's set up against you. That's when you've got to dig in, and that's when you start having to have a voice, like you were saying. I'm not accepting this. No, I'm not accepting this from them. Go and get a different resolve because I'm not having it. What they've done, I am not putting. And you've got to really like stand up and test your own voice and just say no. I'm important in this. This is all. I would love to know, Kylie, between me, you, and the Gate Coast, to the dollar value, what they spent in taxpayers' money trying to get me out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
And
it'd be
imagine where that
hundreds.
money could have gone instead.
Yeah, hundreds.
Imagine where that money could have gone instead.
Yeah, yeah. How can someone begin trusting themselves again after an experience that's caused them to question their own perception, their professional and their personal worth?
You just have to go. You just have to go off on your own and just come to your own resolve in your own mental capacity of, hey, I am okay. I'm just an unfortunate person that's come up with this blooming story of how not to be treated, and anything that could go wrong has gone wrong, but it all went wrong for them, but to their detriment, not mine.
Yeah.
And it was a case of me, because like the arbitrator said, they just expect you to just walk away. That's why everything takes so long in law. You've got a claim. Oh, they'll just go off. They'll get fed up, or they might just go off and top themselves, or they might just drop dead anyway. So we don't have to. That's what they're hoping for. But if I've done something wrong, I'm not an angel, but absolutely come and talk to me. Say, look, Annie, we don't do it this way. This is okay. Sorry about that. You're not going to come and talk to me 2 and 3 times. If you do, then Houston, I've got huge problems. But for me, I would absolutely, I've had lots of people say, would you do it again? Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't live with myself, be working there each day, going in and having to be quiet and just be small and be worried about upsetting someone. How can you do your work when you're worried about upsetting people? You're there for the wrong reason.
And always worrying about when the next penny's going to drop. When the num comes to you, oh, I need to have a sec. And so you're panicking about what is that second all about.
Yeah.
And we've talked about what's wrong. We've talked about what's wrong in the health system. Let's shift it a little bit. I know we're going over time here, guys, but bear with us.
I always go over time.
This is such a powerful conversation that I'm not going to cut it short because there's so many golden nuggets here, and someone needs to hear what we're saying today. But let's talk about what's possible. Because if it isn't for people like you and me, if it isn't for all the other advocates for psychological safety, for safe workplaces, then we can't change. So if we don't know what's wrong, we can't make changes for the better. And so if we just stopped accepting that this is just nursing as an explanation, this is what we've signed up for, this is what we tolerate for the unhealthy workplace culture, what could our workplaces actually become?
Oh, they might become dream workplaces if we didn't have lunatics running, dotting I's and crossing T's to the way they want to do things. I think everyone should have mandatory every 12 months be signing off on policies and procedures for a start.
Yeah.
Not when you first start, every 12 or even every 6 months, everyone's got to sign off. Everyone knows where they're at in the organisation.
Yeah.
And they need to have a, you see the signs of respect when you're walking through. We respect. No, you don't. It's all lip service.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
What do
think,
you think could change? Like, what would that change? Because look, we are seeing a mass exodus of nurses leaving the profession. 1 in 3 nurses are going to leave over the next 12 months. 80,000 nurse shortage Australia-wide in by 2035. Okay, so we have a real retention issue, and they're not leaving just because the pay is not suitable. They're leaving because the workplaces and the environments that we are working in is unsafe. It's unsafe, and there's reports out there that sometimes that nursing is worse than a war zone.
yeah.
And I just can't fathom that. So, do you think if we change these, we could increase retention?
When you go to join the armed forces, they do psychological testing. They have all different aptitude testing for people. If you're good
Yes.
on the mechanics, he can keep the tank going. He's great with the tank and the spanner. Get him on the tanks. He's a good cook. He can feed us all on one potato. Get him in the kitchen.
Do we give them a gun or not?
Yeah, but for nursing, it's a war zone because you keep going back. You don't escape it. It doesn't change. The rules of engagement change as per whoever's running it. Oh, I'm going to fire her a couple of times today, and I'm going to do that to him tomorrow, and everyone can see. We need to have some form of aptitude testing for CEOs and directors of nursing. Because as far as I'm concerned, after what I dealt with at Broken Hill, and I'm saying it, I'm just going to come out and say it, to me, in my mind, there's like an invisible bucket by the door for them. It's got soul in it. And as they to sign the dotted line, they rip that out and throw it in the bucket. Because they were soulless, these people I work with. They were horrible. And I'm glad they're all gone. And I'm glad I've named them. And I'm glad other people are stepping up and naming them too now. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just me going to the newspapers. When I went, it was small. Then a doctor went. And then it got bigger than Ben-Hur because it's a doctor now and all, and he was a great guy. His wife became the general manager after the other one got sacked. And then the CEO saying that she's bullying him. This lady's a lady, quiet spoken. And so the Stuart Riley ended up doing a work cover, got paid a lot of money because he was bullied by this doctor's wife. And yet he'd done all this stuff to me.
Yeah, and what they do, and in your instance, those people are no longer in Broken Hill. They've left. They've
Gone.
But they've gone to do that to someone else.
Yeah. The CEO's now working in the aged sector in South Australia. The ex-director of nursing, Dale Sutton, or Dale Coombe, whatever name she's using, I believe she's gone to Adelaide to live. Good riddance. Marissa, she's over in Western Australia somewhere, still causing mayhem and, dereliction wherever she goes. And and then the other players that popped their heads into it and who wanted to stick the boot into me as well, they're still in that town. Yeah. And I'm going to go back there to live shortly. That's my plan.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm so glad that you are at a point where you can go back.
Well, it's been 13 years. My eldest grandson, George, was 5.5 months old when I left. He's 13 now at high school. They've cost me all that time. If I'd have murdered someone, I'd have been out of I'd have been out of jail, free woman.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
I'd have murdered someone, I could understand why I've been through all of this, but I never harmed anyone.
yeah.
And it
What?
came out, didn't harm one person in my nursing story, not one. And this is what they did to me.
Yeah, yeah. What kind of nursing culture do you want the next generation of nurses to inherit from us?
Safe one.
Yeah,
Well, one where your main concern is getting to and from work and getting on with your job, not having to be worrying about your KPIs and that's another thing now. The humanistic touch has gone out of nursing. Back in the day, you could go in and hold Betty Boop's hand. Now you can't. Now you're at the computer going in three different things to get into three different sites so you can put a report in that might have three words in it.
and it brings us to that human touch is gone from nursing. Like the nurses that are coming through now, and even before I left, like if you asked them to go and do a manual blood pressure, or if you asked someone to manually take a pulse, they would look at you like you were like an alien. And that just putting that hand on someone's
Yeah.
wrist, it's a sign of comfort. I'm here for you. Yes, we're manually counting, but you're having a conversation. You're relating and like showing that compassion to someone who's at their most vulnerable. And now you stick them on a monitor. And ED is my background, emergency nursing, and you put them on a monitor as soon as they come in. You hook them straight all up. You go to the monitor and you click how many intervals of blood pressures or whatever, and then it goes off every 15, 30, every hour, and you stand at the end of the bed and you've got your head down and you're documenting everything. You're not having that proper
Yeah.
interaction with the patient.
Yeah.
And that's what's really missing, that human touch out of nursing. And I guess it brings us to our next part of our conversation, because the conversations like this shouldn't happen after someone's been harmed. Okay.
Mm.
We need to be talking about the culture, the bullying, the psychological safety, the leadership, the accountability before another nurse reaches the point where they feel that their only option is to leave. And in your instance, your option was that you had to leave your home and go to
24 years.
for 13 plus years. You missed out on watching your grandson grow up.
All of them. I've got 4 grandsons and my family.
Yeah, your family. And you've had to literally move from the place that you called home for so many times, for so many years. And I guess this is a huge part of why we're bringing nurses together for the Standing Strong Summit, Psychological Safety in Nursing. And you're going to be one of our guest speakers, which
I
I'm really...
know, right? First off the goolie.
We put you right up the top.
Yes, that's okay.
But also we want the nurses to know that are coming to this event to know that this is a safe environment for them to come.
Absolutely.
Eh, eh,
Absolutely.
like at this event, that everyone is going to have the opportunity to talk with us. There's upgrades, VIP upgrades. So when you buy your ticket, you can actually pay a little bit extra and get one-on-one with one of us, which is phenomenal. You don't get that in any other summit or conference
Yeah.
or anything like that. Like, we are there. We want to interact with you. We want to hear your stories. We want to give you perspectives. But most importantly, we want you to understand that you're not alone in what is happening for you or what
Yeah.
you're missing. And I guess, why did you say yes to Standing Strong? And what would you want the nurse sitting in that room, listening to your story, walking away, understanding?
So I am sharing my story because I think it's important to see how far people that have high positions in the health industry are prepared to go to get rid of people like me. They have the power. They have the privilege of being in these big positions, getting paid the big dollars to make the right decisions. And when they're doing things that are untoward towards good staff members, how on earth do they expect to have a healthy healthcare hospital? How on earth can it be healthy for people and a place where people feel valued when all this is going on? And that's just towards the staff.
Yeah.
But, you know, and when the people in the district of Broken Hill found out what was going on, I had a lot of support from previous clients, because it's a small place. People hurt, and they were coming up to me saying, Annie, this is, I know. But I couldn't really talk about it to the clients, but they were coming to me because they'd all heard about it. Because the 3 vexatious nurses were giving it all this, and then everyone was listening to it, and it all got back to me. You know, I just want other nurses to know you're not on your own. But for me, what really has prompted me to get up and speak about my experiences after I'd left Broken Hill, within the space of 5 months, a good colleague of mine rang me up. I was actually out at dinner, Kylie, and she was in a bath and she was ready to kill herself with a razor blade, because they got me out, then they got my mentor, Wendy Chanouth, out, then it was Joe's turn. And I had to talk her down on the phone not to kill herself. I remember leaving the meal, I couldn't stay. And when I got home, I just thought, they're still doing it. They are still doing it. And that's when I thought, no. And then the opportunity came up for me to do the YouTube, the Harper, not APRA, the Harper conference. And I met with Charlie Teo. He'd heard about it. And he said, just do it, get up and speak and tell everyone. And I did. That's the first time I actually came out. But I didn't name them there. But I did get physically upset when I realised about my daughter having her baby, because I wasn't with her.
Yeah.
My first daughter's had my son. I've seen my son's son being born. My daughter missed it all because of these lot.
Yeah. And look, that's something that you can't get back. Like,
No,
for
I know.
Experiencing that with my own daughter and her second child, it was just an amazing experience. And that no words can describe to watch your daughter give birth to another daughter. I'm getting tears in my eyes now.
Yeah.
I talk about that.
That same daughter was quite poorly when I was going through all this stuff in Broken Hill, and I'd arranged to have her in Adelaide for an operation. And a few days before, I'm being summoned to the CEO, Stuart Riley, to be informed that I can't take her there. He wants me in Bloomfield for 2 weeks to go, upskill, please. And I pleaded with him, please, my daughter, she's poorly. No, if you don't do that, you won't have a job. So instead of supporting my daughter with an operation, I'm now in Bloomfield. And when I walked in, the nurse that first came in drunk, impaired, was working in Bloomfield. I had to work with her for 2 weeks. And she knew I was going there before I even knew.
Of course she did. Yeah, of course you did. So standing strong isn't about spending a day talking about everything that's wrong with nursing, right? It's about bringing nurses into the room where we can have these conversations that are professional, practical, and sometimes uncomfortable, but desperately needed. So we're talking psychological safety. We're talking workplace culture. We're talking bullying. We're talking about speaking up. And most importantly, we're talking about what we can do differently. So what we can take back into the workplace, because awareness without action doesn't change culture. And if today's conversation has resonated with you, I'd genuinely love for you to join us at Standing Strong. I have popped the link into the comments. So early bird tickets are only available for the next 2 weeks. Now is the time to start requesting time off on your roster so that you can be in the room and be part of the conversation. Because the future of nursing shouldn't be decided without the voices of the nurses who are living it, right? It shouldn't be the ones sitting in an office making these changes. It should be the ones on the floor. So, Annie, I'm going to finish with the same question I asked Wendy last week, and it's one that I want every guest who sits with us on the Real Shift to answer. If you could create one real shift in nursing around workplace culture, psychological safety, what would that be?
A shift? Sorry, is that what you said, a shift?
Yeah, a shift. One real shift in nursing, what would it be?
I think there's too many top players. There's too many bosses. We need to get rid of a lot of the top heavy. Get rid of a lot of these bosses, because a lot of these bosses don't know how to boss. They don't have management. They're pulling young post grads in to lead a shift. I mean, everyone has to have a go at doing it, but you need someone with a bit of experience. You know, that for me is not safe when you've got someone that's inexperienced running a shift.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a client now that's been put on fairly permanent nights. She's 2 years out or 18 months out, and she is looking after 3 new grads on a medical ward in the middle of the night
Wow.
with no support.
What
And
could possibly go wrong?
yeah, and when something does go wrong, who is the one that's going to be crucified? It's
Yeah,
not the person doing the roster or the num.
that's
It's the one
right.
on the floor, like, because she should know,
Yeah.
because she's done a degree, and it's quite terrible that we're seeing this.
Mm. Just
Yeah,
because you've done a degree doesn't mean you've got common sense.
absolutely, absolutely. So thank you, Annie, for not only joining me today, but also being willing to use something that was incredibly difficult in your life to create change for somebody else. And to everyone watching this, let me leave you with this. Psychological safety isn't about making workplaces comfortable all the time. It's about creating workplaces where people can ask questions, make mistakes, raise concerns, disagree respectfully, and speak honestly without that fear of humiliation, punishment, or retaliation. And we cannot keep telling nurses to find their voice while also maintaining cultures that teach them that it isn't safe to use it. And
Mm.
perhaps that is today's real shift. Maybe we stop asking nurses to become better at surviving in unhealthy cultures, and start creating cultures they don't need to survive. So we have gone over time. I do apologize, but come back and watch this, because there's going to be so many golden nuggets that you get out of this. And we hope to see you at Standing Strong in October. Any final words, Wendy?
If any nurses are actually going through this, please do not give up. You're not the problem. And even if you are the problem, there's ways of dealing with problems, not being bullied into positions. Go and talk to someone. Make sure you've also got a good friend who isn't a health professional, someone that you can go and just bounce off that way. Because if you're with health professionals all the time, you don't escape it. And when you're involved in things like this, you do need sometimes in your mind when you can escape what they're pushing towards you, so that you can come back. You've got to be, you learn how to be a strategist, how to
Yeah,
strategize, how to sit back, and you learn how to watch and wait. And then you learn how to, when to attack back.
yeah,
Who would have thought being a nurse you're using words like attack? Like
yeah,
this shows you where we're at. This
it
just
does.
shows you where the health system is when nurses have got to wait to attack back
Yeah,
when it comes at you. And also when you least expect it, don't get too comfortable. Expect it. You're just numbers, because if it can happen to you, Kylie, if this can happen to Wendy and Tammy and me and all the hundreds of thousands of other people, it's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen in a week. It's going to just perpetuate and always happen. We just need to give the whole health sector a one-off overhaul. And I don't
yeah,
know how they're going to do that.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know
Mm.
either. It's bigger than us, but we are having the conversations that need to be having,
Absolutely.
and
Time
as
to
a
strap it
collective,
back.
yeah, and as a collective, we will make changes. It'll
Yeah.
take time, but we will make the changes that need to happen. So we'll leave it there for today, Wendy. Thank you for coming on. It's been amazing chatting with you. And guys, we'll be back next week. We have Michelle Gordon coming on next week.
Fabulous.
She's another guest speaker from for Standing Strong, and she's going to recount her experiences of burnout in the system. So that's going to be another good conversation. We'll see you all then. Bye for now.
All right. Thank you. Bye, Kylie.
Bye, Annie.